If the temperature on a certain morning appears, it was written down by someone who suffered the heat or cold. To avoid breaking the flow of the story, the attributions and some technical information about code breaking appear in the notes. One human lifetime ago, the battle for the Middle East was one of the critical fronts of World War II. Much of what determined the outcome of that battle, and therefore of the war as a whole, remained secret. Quickly shaped legends turned into accepted memory. Today, even that misleading memory is fading. Yet what happened then shaped the Middle East and continues to shape it today. Stories have lessons, but lessons are best told after the story, not before. Thus have I done. Danielle, to my great sorrow, is no longer here to listen to this. Still, I thank him for sending me on the journey. Curtain rising. Last train from Cairo. Early summer, 1942. Cairo. The world as everyone knew it was coming to an end. In the vast desert west of the Nile, the Eighth Army of the British Empire was in full flight from the German and Italian forces, commanded by Field Marshal Erwin Rommel. Smoke rose from the Grand British Embassy facing the Nile. Smoke rose a few hundred yards down the river, from the mansions of Garden City that war had transformed into British General Headquarters Middle East. In the Cairo heat, privates fed bonfires with all the paper that must not fall into enemy hands. Cables from London, lists of arms, reports radioed in cipher from the battlefield, maps and code books. The flames were too hot, the updraft too strong, and half-burnt secrets floated out over the city. Smoke rose from the office of the Special Operations Executive, the secret, undisciplined unit that backed partisans throughout the occupied Balkans, and now was trying to erase its chaotic records. At Royal Air Force Headquarters, too many papers were dumped too quickly down a chute to an incinerator. Some wafted whole over the fence and into the streets, which were packed with dusty trucks pouring in from the desert carrying exhausted soldiers, and with convoys evacuating rear units east to Palestine, and with the cars of wealthy Alexandrians who'd fled to Cairo, and the cars of rich Cairenes trying to get through the traffic to flee south or east. Everyone honked, as if the horn were the gas pedal. The pillars of smoke stood over the city and gave no guidance to the exodus. On the morning of her 19th birthday, June Watkins emerged from the Metropole Hotel in downtown Cairo. That's where the Royal Air Force had tucked its cipher office. Around a long table, officers of the Women's Auxiliary Air Force worked as fast as they possibly could, turning words into opaque groups of numbers to be sent out in Morse code by radio, or translating equally opaque numbers from field units back into words. In the summer, the room was too hot, even at night, even if you were wearing a thin cotton tropical uniform. Watkins's commander was quite old, meaning at least 27, and had once deciphered a list of pilots who'd been shot down. It was from the squadron in which the commander's boyfriend served. His name was on it. The commander passed on the list and said nothing. No one ever gets a medal for that kind of heroism. Watkins's father had wired her £20 for her birthday, a fortune, 2 months' salary for a woman officer, and she'd headed for the bank to see if it had arrived. The lines outside stretched for blocks. When she got inside the grand marble-walled lobby, she found it packed with Egyptian businessmen trying to withdraw their money. By sheer chance, a large South African captain, an old friend, recognized her and helped her shove through the bedlam to the counter. The man in front of her ranted steadily in French through the grating at the clerk who was counting out his money. The banks had run short of cash and were handing out worn banknotes while waiting for the government map department to improvise printing an emergency supply. The man grabbed his notes.